Russell Davenport, Vice Chair.
Present.
We have a vacancy, Jeff Lippincott.
Present.
Frank Oliveri.
Present.
Gary Paganelli.
Present.
Jamie Giantano.
Present.
Matt Clausen, I know, is absent. And we have another vacancy, so we have two vacancies. And we're gonna have a third vacancy beginning next month. So, we'll deal with that. Approval of minutes. Your motion?
They all looked okay to me.
Can I make a motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 19th meeting as they are.
Okay, any
I'll
second?
second it.
Gary, all those in favor of approving? It's unanimous. Jeff, before we continue, who's taking minutes?
Vanessa will be preparing the minutes from the recordings. She was sick and unable to attend.
Okay,
tonight.
so she's gonna,
Yep.
we're covered.
Yes. we are.
Okay, good. Next order of business under agenda review. Jeff, anything?
We do have a couple of communications. One is just information that there's gonna be some pesticide applications at the Fish and Game Club's water body. So I'll pass that over to the chairman to take a look at. It's really just a notification to us.
Will that involve any closure of the lake to swimming and things like that, like when we treat the lake?
That would be my guess. I know that's typically the case when they apply any chemicals in Bantam Lake, and I think it would be the same kind of thing.
I think,
This is for
I think,
Highland Lake?
I think.
No,
we should-
not Highland Lake.
Oh, I was gonna say, what
No,
body of water is this?
The Winchester Fish and Game have a pond.
Oh, so it's not Highland Lake?
Not Highland Lake, no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
that would be a whole nother.
What is the location of that? Is there a name for that pond?
Is that Winchester Club Pond?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's off of Broadbrook. So if you come down, if you take Route 263 up past the filter plant,
Yeah.
you get to Broadbrook, you take that right, there's a little body of water down there, and it's kind of,
Oh, yeah, okay, yep.
it backs up, there's a Griswold Lane goes out.
We have jurisdiction over that lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just never
So,
thought about it.
I think there should be some kind of a public notification going out if it involves swimming and whatever.
It's a private club, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, but the fire department uses the water for fires up there, that's why we pay, that fire budget pays for the treatment.
But it is a wetland town, you know, it is a
Yeah.
wetland water course within the town, so.
Yeah, it's a copper treatment that they're doing to control some invasive species up there. It's a 3-year permit. DEP issues those, not the local boards. And they will dictate what kind of public notification needs to happen.
so we're saved harmless?
Yeah.
Okay,
Correct.
very good. Send us back.
The treatments are, those permits are issued at the DEP level.
Anything else under agenda review?
Just another communication from the Farmington River Watershed Association newsletter. There's a couple copies here if anyone's interested.
Okay, thank you. I know later down on the agenda, you have a possible suggestion for a change in the regular meeting, so that's on the agenda.
It is.
All right, when we get to it, I have a couple of questions regarding that.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, I think that's it as far as I can see on the agenda review. Anybody with anything? Okay, there were no public hearings under old business, application 25-1. The applicant is Andrew Kovalenko on behalf of Kevin Silver and Kimberly Ryan. My understanding, they've asked for an extension or a continuation.
They didn't need to ask for an extension yet. They're not in danger of timing out. They were not ready to present, and I advised them, if you're not ready, don't come, have a complete package. So their engineer, Kovalenko, agreed with that, and they intend to be here at the next meeting.
Okay, so we'll just,
Do you know
what's the language we're gonna use? We're gonna continue it?
Continue it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll be continued to April?
Jeff, excuse me, do you know offhand what their bond is?
I don't recall.
Probably just 1,000?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
you know, at
nothing
the beginning, we
major,
thought it was a nothing project.
Right, that's.
So-
Okay, application 25-2, the applicant is the Department of Public Works for the town, Gabe Calandra, and that's Jim Rollins coming forward.
Yeah.
You're gonna talk about Holland Beach, Jim?
Yes, for
Okay.
the record, Jim Rollins, Director of Public Works, here on behalf of Gabe Caliber. So we presented last month for the Holland Beach parking area and the associated
there were several comments passed on the Highland Lake Facebook Marketplace page where people were concerned about it, what was going on, and that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it went any further, if any of it reached the town, but I guess they were just expressing a concern
About the parking lot?
about the whole project of what was going on with the beach.
Or the
Nothing-
sand.
Oh, that's not part of my project.
That's outside Jim's scope.
Yeah, so, I mean, I know of it. Jeff asked me to swing by and I just made some recommendations to get that silt fence staked in a little
Yeah,
better.
okay.
Other than that, that's separate from us.
Okay, and that homeowner on that corner house, you've reached out to them, you said?
So well, on the corner house, we haven't really spoken to them. They're actually a new owner. And, I mean, we're gonna be out in the road there, out in the town right of way. We'll of course let them know before we dig in front of their driveway, but, I mean, it's just another project. We had more conversation with the people behind where that parking lot is.
Up the hill?
Yep, yeah, I guess I can say up the hill. If you came into that parking lot and just kind of drove up into that guy's backyard, he's been using that as a pass-through. We spoke with him when we were laying it out, and we showed him the surveys, and he's like, yeah, I know, it's not my property. And
All right.
so he's been told what's going on. But, you know, the stretch, the house right on the corner, the impact to them is only gonna be that short time when we're digging across their driveway. We'll organize that when the time comes.
Okay. Any other concerns about that project, gentlemen?
When's that start?
As soon as we get approval,
Yeah.
we're trying to, we've got a purchase order written, we're just waiting for approval.
Yeah, so it's ready to go. Good.
Yep, and
Be a good
we'll,
project.
Get that and schedule it into his
Now,
plans.
you need our approval tonight. This is the second meeting that we've talked about it.
Yep.
We certainly appreciate that, yeah. Otherwise, because I wanna try to get it while the water's as low as possible. That way, just less chance of mud, less chance of
Yeah.
canyons, less chance of everything.
Any other concerns on our end? Gary? All right, does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve, application IWWC 25-2, town, or Department of Public Works for, Holland Beach parking area. I wasn't gonna read out the little location there.
Second.
Any concerns, any issues? All those in favor of approval? Unanimous? Last month, while you're here, Jim, last month you came before us also for two other projects. One was on West Wakefield Boulevard, the other was on East Wakefield Boulevard.
Yep.
And I think more of it wound up into like a concern that it was an agent determination kind of issue. I'd like to raise it for a moment and talk about it. All right? You good?
Sure.
All right, the one on East Wakefield,
I'll be here. Do you want to take these people, get them out?
it's gonna, you're here.
Okay, sure.
The one on East Wakefield Boulevard.
Yep.
The drainage seems to be coming, that's contaminating the road very much during the winter time with ice
Yep.
and during the summertime with runoff.
Yep.
But it seems to be coming from one particular driveway. And what you're proposing is you're gonna put a drainage along the side of the road, below the height of the road, so that all of the water as it comes down this driveway will filter right and left of the driveway.
So, there's two things going on there. The ice that makes a mess in the wintertime is different, is a completely different problem than the water that's coming out the guy's driveway kind of up the slope a ways.
So there's two driveways that are doing two different things.
Yes.
Okay,
The one at the bottom of the hill, that water that comes down there freezes in the wintertime in the stream, and it just kind of bleeds out
Yeah.
around the opening that brings it into the lake, comes down his driveway. and
goes
just-
left and right.
Yep. That's not part of this project, mostly because that's a problem that's occurring on private property that's upstream of the road, the town road right of way. And also, foundation, it's just on piers. So the house is built on piers over that water course. The water comes down, and when it gets cold and freezes, the water course is not well defined enough to keep the water in its channel. So as it freezes, the water kind of pushes out somewhere underneath the house
Is
itself.
that house and what I'm talking about within the parameters of what you're planning to do on East Wakefield Boulevard for roughly 100, 150 feet?
Yeah, I mean, we're ending right where that ice kind of starts.
Well, the reason why I bring it up, and we don't have to belabor the point, but something for you to visit, maybe with Jeff, maybe with me, or Gary, or Frank.
Yep.
If you put a catch basin right where that water's coming on that driveway,
Yep.
instead of going this way and then ultimately over the street and freezing during the course of the winter, if you put a catch basin there, there's a catch basin opposite on the lakeside that if you ran a pipe underground 20 feet, you'd be in the other catch basin. And in my mind, that would, and again, my mind, not necessarily your mind or anybody else's, but that would virtually solve the problem of that winter ice buildup. Look at it, that's all.
It might,
Look at it, because if you're doing that project and you're right there,
yep.
you know, consider,
Can we
yeah,
add that as a condition to the approval to that it's okay for us to address that, should it be feasible?
I would like it, yeah.
So what is it, like 20 feet further up than where you're gonna?
Yeah,
where
it's a
you're
little
gonna-
bit
I don't
further
even
up,
think it is.
but it's-
I don't even think it is.
It may not be.
Gonna be a new catch basin?
It would,
Is it?
yeah, again, we didn't think of that, because it wouldn't be stopping the cause, it would be capturing it before it became the problem. So,
It stops the course.
it might.
It stops it.
We may have to do some fancy contouring to exaggerate.
That driveway is,
Shoulder. Oh,
that
it's-
driveway is here to the wall wide,
Yeah,
you know, and if it's pitched properly, you know, the water's gotta go into the catch basin, and it won't come down the driveway in a channel,
Yep.
and then when it hits the street, it goes over the street,
yep, yep.
freezes overnight, and, you know, it's a treacherous thing, especially
it's
at
awful.
night,
Yeah, it's
especially at night. And you could be there every day
Yep, and it's
and
not
still
enough.
have a problem.
Yeah, we do it in the morning, we do it at night, and
Yeah,
that's. a
all right,
problem.
so think about that, if
No,
you'd like to meet with me,
Yep.
and Jeff, if Jeremy, if we want, we'll visit the site, and I'd like somebody else from the commission
Yeah, I'll go
to
take a
look
look
at
at it. I
it.
didn't know what you were.
What?
I'll go take a look.
Yeah, good.
I'd like to take a look at it,
What you're
actually.
talking about.
We can't have too many, we'll have a committee,
It'd be an illegal meeting.
yeah.
I'll just drive by and look at it.
You know what, ring my bell, I'll show you what I'm thinking of.
What number is this? I'd like to.
I don't know the number, it's like eight
It's
seventeen or eight
It's below
eighteen.
that, it's like 829 or something.
Is it the one to the
You
right of
know,
Dutton's?
Jim, those numbers are out of
It's,
sequence.
Is it the one to the right of Dutton's that you're talking about?
If you're looking at Dutton's, it would be to his right, yeah.
I don't even know who Dutton is.
It's got the
I wanna say,
garage in the
say
front
it's
and house up on top.
825.
Oh, I know.
East Wakefield.
825.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
And
I
then,
remember it's a red house.
just so, put it on your checklist, so when we visited, there are two other catch basins that are above the grade. You know,
All right, we'll take a
yeah,
look at that.
okay? Okay, thank you very much.
When are you planning on, is the, are
That
the
was
gates
probably
closed?
gonna be a summer job.
Okay, are the gates closed now, Jim? or-
No, we gotta wait till as soon as the ice is off, then we close the gates.
Okay.
How long before you think the lake will be back to the 11-foot whatever?
Really depends on.
Rain.
Depends on two things, when the ice is off, then I can close the gates, and then how much water we get to raise it up.
You really gotta look hard to find ice now. You know, it's gone, basically. Just a little bit up near Mountain Road, a little bit, and that's it.
You're starting to sound like a politician.
You want to close the gate tonight?
I went by this morning.
You gonna close the gate tonight after?
Yeah, we'll drive by again.
Okay,
Seriously, it's all off.
okay, again, I
It's
look at it
all
every
off.
morning on my way in, and this morning,
And-
so this is the last question I was expecting, but yeah.
I don't know,
Believe me, my phone rings as soon as ice is off, so,
you know what, there were boats out there fishing today,
okay.
yesterday. So I don't think there's any ice, other than, like I said, maybe a little bit up near Mountain Road, maybe. Okay, James, thank you very much. Anybody else?
My grandson wanted to go in bathing suit on.
Okay, under new business, we have,
5 years
South Yam Dasai? You wanna come forward, introduce yourself?
Jim, you're sticking around?
Thank you, Jim.
Stop in this side.
Good morning.
Okay,
Good morning.
Owner of 874 West Wakefield.
okay. And tell us what you're proposing?
Proposing removing the existing dock that's on our property, that I believe was not permitted, and putting in a new floating dock, which I placed in the permit for, an anchored floating dock.
Okay. When you say anchored floating dock, what do you mean by?
Anchored with pillars on the side to prevent it from moving side to side or floating off the middle of the lake.
When you attempt to do this, when will you attempt?
When I got permits, if it ends up being delayed and the lake is too high, it would move to next year.
Okay.
When the lake is.
Okay, because
lower.
if you're gonna be putting pillars,
Yep.
sonotube kind of pillars in there?
I don't know the exact, so I placed, and I added with the permit all the individual specs of what the marine company will be, putting in. So both couplers and the,
Probably just feet that go down, right?
Pardon?
They're probably just feet that go down, not
yeah,
concrete. anything.
yeah, they're not, it's not concrete, it's.
Yeah,
Oh, so
I mean,
feet
I haven't
on-
seen it, but I assume they're just, they're standard dock.
Yes, but
pads
that
go
doesn't
down,
actually
right?
float, right? It's on
On pipes.
legs, pipes
Yeah,
with
like
with
pipes.
feet
So
on top.
it'll go up and down on the pipes?
Correct, correct.
And the intention is to take it out during the winter?
No, it can stay in all winter and it would just drop down to the sand,
How deep's the water there?
about 4 feet.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, so you're dry now?
totally dry now.
Okay.
Well, a little bit of water now, more recently.
Just a point of information and concern.
Yep.
Ice will wreak havoc on that thing if it's anywhere where water is.
Yep.
It's gonna, the ice will shift, and what's out there is gonna shift whether it wants to or not. Okay? How do you propose, you didn't mention, how do you propose getting out what's in there now? There's columns in there, I think you said?
Yeah, there's some concrete columns from the old dock. It would be manually removed to our property and carried out.
Okay, no machinery on the lake at all?
No, they would need to bring in a jackhammer just to break the concrete to get it into movable pieces.
Yes? Good?
Yeah, you're gonna wanna make sure you don't leave any debris. They're gonna do a
Correct,
complete
yes,
cleanup,
it'd be-
maybe lay some tarp and, that kind of business, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Anybody?
So this is a new application, so we just accept it?
Well, there's another, also in your narrative, but
Yeah.
not in your proposal, you talk about rebuilding the wall, but that's not included in what you're asking us to approve.
It's not rebuilding the wall, it's just any touch-up work that needs to be done to the top of the wall where the old dock was built. So just making sure that there's nothing that's, once they take the couple pieces of wood that are on top of the seawall that's currently there, making sure that that's fine. So, not actually rebuilding any of the,
So what I think I'm hearing you saying is if the dock presently is 5 feet wide or 4 feet wide,
Yep.
you're talking about a surface of no more than 4 or 5 feet wide and just the top of that?
correct.
Okay. Jeff, just work that language out into his proposal so that we have to, for next month, that's what we would have to
No, no,
approve.
that's perfectly fine,
And you
yeah.
left it out, that's why I bring it. Okay? Anybody? Gary, anything?
No, I think it's fine.
What are the timing of this, is he gonna be able to, yeah,
We can only accept his application tonight. Chances are you're gonna wait till next year. I'm just being honest,
Yeah, if that's what it is, it's,
well, the water is gonna come up
no, yeah.
and,
As soon as he closes the gates.
Unless you can prove there's ice. I'm gonna drop like, I'll drop ice cubes right outside my house.
All right, is there a motion to accept?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept, application IWWA 25-5 for 874 West Wakefield Boulevard, remove existing dock and replace with new floating dock.
and include language to repair of no more than 6 feet. Is that fair?
That's fair.
No more than 6 feet of the water, of the wall surface,
Right.
okay?
Yeah, we're just trying to avoid, with that, we're just trying to avoid someone then saying, oh, we gotta rebuild the whole wall, and they don't understand the regulations with that. What's entitled, what sort of, protection needed for the water base and all that, that's the only reason we include that language.
Okay, is there any need for a public hearing?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of accepting? All right, it's unanimous. So we'll see you back next month. Implement the suggestions we made, and if you can provide more detail, that's even better. And if you have to meet with Jeff, please do so. And, but get all the paperwork into him early enough so that, we don't see it on our desk next month. All right?
Okay.
All right, take care, have a good night. You too. Any agent determinations?
No determinations. We did list under agent actions. It seemed like the logical place to do it, the replenishment of sand at Holland Beach. Obviously, people were interested once they saw that happening there. And after some further review and discussions in-house, we think that maybe this would be an item that should perhaps be added to the 5-year sort of general permit that could be done there. I know even Jeremy had some concerns of what the frequency of sand being brought into the beaches was, and me not being here long enough, we had to seek that information out. According to Tanya and the rec department, last year and this year was the first time in at least 10 years that sand's been brought to either beach. So you local guys can probably confirm that that's the case. And since it's not a regularly occurring thing where we need to be overly concerned about loss of sand on the beach, we figured it wasn't that big a deal, but it probably should have been a permitted issue since it's technically adding material into the water.
So, look, this is a question probably for you, Jeremy. The sand just washes down to the lowest spot, levels out at the bottom of the lake, and whatever's living down there just rehabitates to the sand, and eventually will fill it in.
Right. And that's,
a question?
What do other towns do? This must be.
well, it's, and I think, part of it is it wave action that's causing sand loss? Is it something else? Is it erosion from the top of the beach down? We looked at the edge of the road and thought, well, and the road does have a bit of a pitch there, so I think most of the water's heading away from the lake versus towards it, but there might be some spots that could benefit from a curb in the future. It's probably a lot of different factors. The fact that it's been 10 years since the last time sand was deposited is probably a good thing.
I think it's far more than that.
Well, I
Far
would
more than that,
say,
I think.
it's been in this,
I
I would
was
say,
on the commission for 13 years, and I've been in public works for 10. I don't think it's been done in that 23 years.
but I would say it's been in the condition it was in for
For a long
a
time.
long time.
Yeah,
So
that-
that sand has been gone for 20 years,
Yeah.
30 years, whatever.
So that's one of those things, and you bring the lake level down every year, which makes sense. The problem is a lot of the sand that went in last week or 2 weeks ago is now gonna be underwater when that lake level comes back up. So it might be wise to try and figure out where that lake level is. Don't put any sand down below that, because anything that's down below that high water mark, you're gonna lose over time. We'd have to look at it, to be honest. I mean, every beach and every lake is gonna have a little bit different of a situation. A community I worked with in the past, they had a major sand loss problem from upstream erosion.
Yeah,
Or
I think
upland
that's the case.
erosion, and so, they were dealing with washouts, and so we did all sorts of things there. We put in curbing, and there were a whole bunch of actions that we took.
I don't
but
think,
I
you
don't
may
think
get
that's what
minor.
we're dealing
No,
with here.
It's the boats.
Right.
I mean,
Boats
with
are
the,
what causes that beach.
Right.
You know what it is, you're also trying to hit a moving target.
Right.
Because when the high water level is, then it goes over the spillway, and for the most part, it maintains that level, but you get a heavy rain, and now that second spillway is incorporated, but the sand, the water went up the sand.
Right.
So.
And the tricky thing is there, you're trying to create a situation. You're trying to create a sandy beach where nature doesn't want a sandy beach there. And so you're always gonna have that problem. There shouldn't be a sandy beach. We are in New England, they're rocky beaches, that's what they are. And so anytime you add that material, it's gonna move every time it gets underwater.
is there any kind of maintenance we could do every year when it goes
Well,
down?
I mean, if you,
To pull it back,
I was gonna say, I know every few years you bring the level like way down, and what you could do is harvest the sand that's out there, get somebody out with, with a bucket of some kind, permit it, and drag that stuff back up onto the beach. Again, a community I worked in, they used to do that.
Well, they did that at Park Pond, and we got argued the fact that they didn't bring the sand in, they took the sand back.
Yes.
One of
that
the-
was
one of
out
the-
at
one of
the
the
camp.
camp-
One of the
One of the
camps.
campgrounds
Yeah.
wanted
Yeah.
to do that, we didn't let him.
But he did it.
No, he did it,
He
and
did it.
we worked it out.
Yeah, we worked it out.
I don't remember how it was.
He did do that, but in all honesty, the harvesting of sand, to be honest with you, is a much more logical thing to do if you wanna continue to have a lake.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
every bit of sand that's going in there,
It
it's
just keeps going in.
It's gonna get shallower, 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 and it's gonna keep on washing.
So-
The harvesting is.
Does it make more
you're not-
sense?
You're not messing up the lake bed by harvesting
No.
the sand that you brought in.
Yeah. Does it make more sense to do it every year and get what we can with the 3-foot drop down? And then with the 5-foot drop down every 5th year, get the big chunk of it?
I'd have to rely on you local folks that know that lake better than I
I'd
do.
say the
but-
answer to that is probably yes. As soon as you get the water down to whatever level it's gonna go to, you just go out with a loader, drop your bucket right at that water mark,
Drag it in?
just drag it back as far as you can, and
The beaches are a valuable asset to the town.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to keep them in pristine shape, but they need to be maintained, I guess.
Yeah, we'd have to put together, somebody would need to put together a management plan, but it's not that much management, right? We're just talking about once a year, a drawdown, dragging it back in an afternoon with, a piece of
you're
equipment.
talking a part of a day. Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal.
Do you have equipment for that?
Yeah,
Jeff, could you put it on our agenda for like October of next year? Does it make, seriously,
Yeah.
only because we're just, look at everybody's age up here. Who's gonna remember? So,
Well, and that, we sort of started talking about a 5-year maintenance permit for Public Works, and if they've got the equipment and the manpower to do it, maybe that
That
gets
would be the
tacked
place
onto
to
their
start,
5-year
wouldn't it?
maintenance plan.
I think it'd
put
be
it in there then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then every 5 years, or whatever the frequency is that you drop that lake
Yeah.
down 5 feet, then you
The other
can
time
really
you watch
watch
it.
it
Yeah.
out there.
You're not
But in
forgetting about
between,
it.
it could be maintained
Right.
on a half-a-day basis kind of thing.
How many yards of sand do we put in? Does anybody know? It looked like maybe 5 tracks loads.
yeah, I don't know. I saw, there was one load up there when I got there, but they hadn't started spreading it yet, so I don't know how many.
How long will the silt fence remain up?
I would think
Well,
once,
I
course, the
would
water
think
level's
probably,
gonna
yeah,
start
well,
coming up.
As soon as the water starts coming up.
Yeah.
Well, it's gonna start.
Now, last year, Resha Beach, they put sand on the beach, not in the water. They regraded and put fresh sand on the beach. Now, I don't know what happens with that sand, like we just had a winter.
Yep.
Is that going into the lake?
I don't know, that's.
I don't think you get the boat
That beach
traffic.
stands a better
No.
chance of surviving because the boat
Plus it'll
traffic's
burn.
much slower.
Oh, yeah,
Much
and
slower
it'll burn.
down through.
That's what
there.
Jeff's
So
talking
the
about. We'll get boat
here
traffic in there.
takes a beating.
Okay. All right, good. Anything else on that? Sand at Holland Beach, any other concerns?
No, I just wanted to
Okay,
bring it up for
good.
discussion.
Any urgent determinations?
Nope,
Any warnings?
nope.
Violations, 308 East Wakefield. They went before zoning on February 25th.
Yeah, so they did get their variance approved with the caveat that there is a, was it a maintenance schedule?
yeah, it's a testing.
Yeah,
schedule.
okay, a perk test schedule
Perk test
to continue to prove that the water is being captured and properly treated in that business. So, yeah, ZBA sort of opened the door to the maintenance schedules that we've been talking about a little bit. So I think that's maybe a good thing, for the whole.
And all things being equal, they have until, I think, June.
This commission put a date of June on it, yeah, so that's,
So,
he's gotta get it done.
You'll stay on top of that.
Stay on top of Mr. Sliney.
Okay, very good, thank you. Still no contact with 713 East?
Well, there is some contact with them, a minor blight issue that they're working to resolve, and in the course of those discussions, I was bringing up the fact that we're still waiting on the survey. Unfortunately, the survey that they had commissioned and they thought was complete, came out of, Keefe's office, and both Keefes have passed away, recently, so we, in the the office are trying to make contact with one of the surviving wives to find out what are we doing with these surveys and data that you guys have there historically. So it's a bit of a situation, but
Just
yeah.
for my purposes, just refresh my memory as to what the violation is.
Cutting trees,
All right,
perhaps on
okay.
town property,
Yeah,
but
okay,
known at a survey and
right,
all
right.
that. Yeah.
Okay, 139, the results of that court hearing?
Filings are going back and forth. As you know, dealing with Miss Babbitt, she has a particular style, and she's continuing it now at the court. So Kevin will keep us updated when there's something to update.
As of now, to your knowledge, is there only one owner of that property, or has she quick deeded 1% to other people?
No new quick claims have been done to my knowledge. I didn't check today, but there wasn't anything on file last time I did look. The additional owners are part of the case. Ms. Babbage advised one of them who appeared at the hearing that he didn't need to be there, and he said, "Oh, I think I do." So,
But they're no longer owners. They were, I think.
right, but they were part of it when it got
Right,
filed. So they're
but technically, at this point today, they're not 1% owners anymore.
I believe you're correct. I believe they were removed.
You-
after,
She submitted documentation to remove them.
Right.
So that's why I asked the question, is there anybody new that she quitclaimed?
Not yet.
Okay, very good. Okay, communications?
We covered that with the deep notification and the Farmington Watershed Association notice. No, nothing other than that.
Under other business, we talked about, you approached me and then sent something out to the committee as a whole regarding the possibility of changing our regular meeting dates from a Wednesday night to a Thursday night. I think everybody that responded, pretty much responded, it seems okay to them.
I have a problem.
Go ahead, I know, go ahead.
I have two meetings, one at 4 o'clock with the Knights, and then at 6:30 with the Republican Club. But that might be short-lived until July, because someone's gonna nominate me to run for selectman tomorrow night.
What did you do to these people?
So, I don't know where that's gonna go.
So it could be a moot conversation.
Right.
All right, well, the proposal is that the first meeting is, the regular, April meeting is regular on the Wednesday.
Yes, because of the holiday schedule,
Yeah.
wouldn't make
The
sense to
May
change
meeting
that.
has an asterisk next to it, that would be meaning it's a Thursday.
That would be a Thursday change. However, while we're on that meeting, I only realized yesterday, I shifted all the meetings just one day, but if you actually look at the third Thursday, as we follow now the third Wednesday, that date would really be May 15th, but you guys can stick with 22nd or 15th. I just want to bring that to your
Well,
attention.
no, I mean, let's
That it would be off.
Let's be consistent, is the
Yeah.
15th the third Thursday?
Yes.
Okay, so then I say let's change it to the 15th.
Okay, very
That's
well.
why we're talking about it.
Yep.
Uh,
And then again, no June change because 6/19 is Juneteenth, and that is now a holiday. So we would keep that on the Wednesday. Yeah. But then the rest of the year would follow through on the Thursdays. Those were all
May
valid
would be the
changes.
first.
May would be the first meeting.
And it would
Right.
be on the 15th.
And it would be the 15th, not the 22nd.
All right? Okay, now, Frank also entertained the possibility that if next year, with the deep drawdown, and again, maybe we're over anxious about how many applications we're gonna receive, maybe we're not.
Right.
The question I have is, a couple of questions. One, if we don't complete the business on a regular Thursday night next year, and we say we're gonna end the meeting at 10:30, blah, 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 whatever, and there are 4 or 5 items that we did not cover, if we have a special meeting in 2 weeks after that, hypothetically, the agenda is only what we didn't cover, is that correct? Or can there be new items added to that special meeting agenda?
So you can't add items to a special meeting once the agenda is posted.
Once it's
I
posted,
think you'd be able to put whatever you want on it, but I think your plan is probably a good one to just carry over that business and get
Right.
it done. I think another possibility, correct me if I'm wrong, if you don't close the meeting, motion to adjourn, and reconvene at a later date, can they do that as well?
Yeah, you can adjourn it to a date.
Okay.
So you can make a motion at, it's at 10:30, you could say, we're gonna adjourn this meeting to the date of whatever that date is. You
And
pick
at
the
that
date,
point,
time, and location,
it
and
would
then you
just be
pick
a
up where you left
continuation
off.
of the agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So there are different options.
All right, but it also sort of puts more of an objective time frame on it, because we know how much business is still left,
Right.
as opposed to, we come in and you added 6 things to the agenda.
Yeah.
So that's good. Okay, with these special, excuse me, with these special meetings, are we limited to a particular day or time? So we can have it on 2 Thursdays from the regular meeting, and it could be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
We could do an afternoon meeting.
Sure, yep.
So we can.
Yeah.
Okay, Frank, that was a question
Yeah,
that you raised.
that's what I had, yeah.
And I think we discussed maybe a few months ago also the fact that hybrid meetings are still viable and available, so we could consider that too, depending on the workload that's
And it could
before
be a
us.
full hybrid meeting, or could it be somebody who's in Texas calling in? One of us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Either or.
right.
yeah, you can be fully online, or you can have some people here and some people out.
Okay.
That's why we do
Okay.
our Rotary meeting.
So that gives us a lot of flexibility.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
have
the difference
Up on
is,
one of
We have
these
the
screens.
capability of that?
yep, the difference is
we're
with a
getting there.
hybrid or
Wait,
a.
one at a time, guys. What?
I was just gonna say, the difference with a hybrid or a all virtual meeting is that the agenda has to be posted 48 hours in advance of the meeting as opposed to 24. Unless it's a special meeting. If it's a special meeting and it's all remote, the 24-hour rule still applies. But we'll keep track
You
of all that.
guys, that's,
But do we
That's
have
staff stuff.
flexibility to work the workload and to get the job done?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good,
okay. And then, begs the question, we'll have to have conversations
among ourselves.
collectively, who's available in the afternoon and who's not. And if 2 people say they're not available, then we stay with the 7 o'clock meeting.
Right.
All right, so that's all good. Very good. Anything else on, God bless you. Do we need a motion to accept this new
Yes,
schedule?
please.
Okay, who wants to make the motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the new 2025 schedule of regular meetings. Do I need to,
You want him to read the dates of them all, or just refer to this schedule?
Go ahead and read them, there's only a handful.
next meeting would be the April 16th meeting, following the May 15th meeting. June meeting would be the 18th. July would be the 17th, August the 21st, September the 18th, October the 16th, November the 20th, and December the 18th.
Okay. The November meeting doesn't interfere with Thanksgiving? Okay, very good. All right, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Jeff, all those in favor of accepting the revised schedule for the remainder of this year? That becomes unanimous. Thank you. Jamie, or Jeff, Dr. Mooring, Ordinance Subcommittee?
Yep, I have copies. So I took what came from the Board of Selectmen comments, what came from Attorney Nelligan's comments, and then some other changes that we had talked about together. And this is now an updated copy, I believe, of everything that we had talked about. Any changes that were made are in red, and they reflect all the things that we talked about. Most of what I changed this last go-round, Attorney Nelligan had a few suggestions, mostly on where things belonged versus where we had them. So I just moved a few clauses to the proper parts of the ordinance, so. No substantive changes since the last time we talked.
Okay. Jeff, do we want to move this forward, or do we want to look at it now and then deal with it next month?
You could look it back over, I don't think it's any
Yeah.
big rush to get it back before
Okay,
the
good.
Board of Selectmen.
Okay, and that'll
That's the
allow
next step?
Jamie,
Yeah.
your input? Jeremy? That will
Yep,
allow-
I've looked at it.
Yeah, you've
Yep.
looked at it?
Yep, I
Oh,
have.
okay, I didn't know. He didn't say that, that's why okay, so then we'll just, put it on our agenda for next month, and, very good. Thank you, James.
Yeah, thank you, Jamie. Cleaning that up. So the next step on this is to go to the Board of Selectmen,
Correct.
and that's it. They approve it or
Yeah,
deny it.
since
and
it's an
that's it.
ordinance, they have their process that they need to follow there.
Okay.
Public Works, Jeff or Jim?
So springtime is upon us. As soon as our sweeper is back from being rehabilitated, it's gonna head out and start at the lake as we always do. Sweeping first, cleaning basins next, and just keep that same pattern up. I think last year we did it 5 or 6 times. Try to keep that same pattern going. Seems to be working out pretty good. It's, you know, it's good. It's time consuming, boy, that's for sure, but it's, it does keep those catch basins, you know, cleaner than they were. We're able to get them faster and easier each time, so,
So
When do you expect the truck back?
I spoke to the company the other day. I think they said April 7th was their target date
Okay.
to get it back.
But you can start sweeping if you want before April 7th.
No, that's when the truck comes back.
Back.
So it's one unit. It sweeps and it vacuums. So
Oh.
we typically run the sweeper around first, and then we go back and we clean the basins
With
out
the same truck?
with the same truck. You know, we can use the other truck, but it's kind of overkill. We will use the big truck for some of the big, there's some really deep catch basins and hydrodynamic separators that require the big truck. So we'll get on those, you know, right away. Probably as soon as they're swept the first time, we'll get out there and just suck those out and get them clean.
And Jeff is aware of your scheduling, or it's you?
Not usually, we just go and do it.
Okay.
We haven't typically, you know, we kind of fit it in whenever we can fit it in.
But if a homeowner made an inquiry to Jeff, you would be able to answer the question as to was mine done, or the one across the street from me done?
It'd probably take me till the end of the day, till the guy
Yeah,
comes
again,
back.
yeah.
But yeah,
Okay, so there is an awareness, that's all.
yeah.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Can I ask a question on that? Jim, once the asset management stuff is all up and running, would that kind of granular information be included in there? So I'd be able to pop on and see, oh, that was clean yesterday, you know, whatever, okay.
Assuming we're disciplined enough
Well,
to actually
of course.
put the work stuff in there.
Data needs to be, yeah.
It's, around the lake, you'll probably find that will be more disciplined
Yeah.
because of, again, so to kind of get you guys up to speed, there's a stormwater, I don't know, regulation, law, I don't know what it is. It's called MS4.
Oh, yeah.
It's municipal
Stormwater
sanitary and
management.
stormwater separation.
Yeah.
how much money you spend per capita. In other words, in New York City, when I worked for the city, we were always belittled because we didn't spend enough. There was always, the money we spent was not enough per capita. So they were trying to tell us to do things that were,
And this comes from the Environmental Protection
that's in, yeah,
Agency?
I think it's
right,
EPA probably.
EPA, yeah. So
Where
they
did
wanna
they-
see you spend money to protect the system, protect the lakes, protect the reservoirs.
Get a new road,
What?
gonna get a new road.
Yeah.
But
So
that's,
So that's what was, that's behind us being proactive. I mean, it probably doesn't seem proactive because we've had the drainage problems around the lake forever, but we're trying to be ahead of the regulatory stuff, just because it's really hard to comply, especially on their timeframe, so. But it's not just around the lakes, you know, I think you have to sweep all of your streets multiple times a year, whereas now, I mean, we do Highland Lake,
well,
you know, 5, 6 times a year, but the rest, some of the roads we don't get to even every year. So we're gonna probably need to purchase additional sweepers and or contract out. You'll be doing, you know, I think you have to clean every basin every year.
it's very time consuming, very expensive, and then that's only the maintenance end. If they ask you to start building things out of the system to improve the system, then the money just goes right to the
That's
roof.
when it gets expensive.
Expensive.
I mean, it's just doing the minimum is crazy expensive, but once you have to start adding stormwater treatment systems.
Systems and infrastructure.
Well, Frank said that it's based on a per capita expenditure.
Right.
How do we stand with that?
I haven't looked into it that far. They will probably, you know, we'll probably learn that at the time. I didn't know that it was based on that. That's the
Yeah,
first
but that's
part.
where, but that's how we started, we won the decision with the hood and hanger program, was the additional sweeping in coordination with the cleaning of the basins
Yep.
and putting the hoods on, because what they were doing in the city was putting baskets out at the outfalls. They were actually building concrete structures at the outfalls, the major outfalls, and was like a lobster trap. And you had a contractor come in with a boat and clean it every week. So the construction of the
So they tried to catch it at the end of it.
gadget at the end of
Before
the
it got
pipe, and
into
we
the
said,
river.
look, we'll clean the basins. Give us
Yeah,
the
yeah.
appropriate things we need. We'll clean the streets and clean the basins before it gets out.
Yeah, makes sense.
It makes more sense, yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're really looking at the urban areas, you know, the downtown areas, and like, you know, basins that are adjacent to water courses, you know, a lake, a river. And again, it makes perfect sense that you're trying to do it. It's just a really, really burdensome, financially and labor burdensome, program. But again, we wanna try to get ahead of it rather than have it smack us in the head and be completely unready for it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Jim? Anything else,
Good
Jim?
luck. It finally caught up.
Yeah, I mean, I think us and Litchfield will probably be put on the next list. I thought we were gonna be this round, but I think EPA and those, they can only manage so much new stuff at a time, so, you know, they'll get to us eventually. But no, other than that, it's, you know, once we get started on, you know, the sweeping and the basin cleaning, it's an all summer,
Yeah.
all summer thing, until it gets so cold that they freeze up on us. We just keep doing it whenever we have, you know, a spare day or half a day even, we just throw whoever we can out there and just, you know, sneak up on them.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jim.
I don't know if this is to Jim or Jeff, whatever happened with that 343 East Wakefield, where they were pumping out their basement? Did we ever learn anything there?
Nothing yet. I'll turn this over to Jeremy, who's luckily been trying to deal with it.
Yeah, I had a conversation with DEP today, and the woman that I spoke to up there is gonna do a little bit of research in terms of, is it their jurisdiction or is it ours? Typically with discharges, if it's a commercial or an industrial property, it's automatically their jurisdiction. This is a little bit of a gray area because it's a residential pump out. If you were to pump out your basement and put it into your yard, there's really no issue with that. It infiltrates into your yard, so be it. When I explained to her that it went into kind of a drainage ditch that's out there, you know, she said if they had put it directly into the lake, it'd be under their jurisdiction and they'd go after Service Master. because it was into a drainage ditch, it was a little bit of a gray thing,
Well,
so
that's more than a drainage ditch, it's a water course.
and I told her that, so she was gonna look into it and get back to me. That's kind of where we are. It's taken forever to get somebody to call back, and I finally heard back from them today.
Ironically.
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
Appreciate it.
Jamie from Highland Lake?
Nothing. I thought of it because I saw this and they had reached out to me about 343, so that's all I've really heard from them recently.
Okay, I think right now, this is Jamie's last meeting with us. So number one, I'd like to obviously thank him for his participation and his involvement and, doing due diligence for the time he was with us. Yeah. And, is there anybody interested in replacing Jamie as a liaison to the Highland Lake watershed?
How about our buddy Tony?
I'd like somebody from the committee.
Yeah, for the committee.
Anybody?
Oh, you mean, I'm sorry.
All right,
liaison.
think about it. We have an opening,
Oh.
and I'd like to maintain that relationship, okay?
Yes.
Um,
Okay.
Jamie, so long as you're still on it, maybe you can get some feedback for the next week or two and give it to Jeff as to when they might be treating the lake this coming summer with pesticide or whatever applications they do.
Okay.
Because all of a sudden there'll be yellow signs on poles, and everybody's gonna get PO'd about it, so if we know ahead of time, and that's out of our jurisdiction completely, but again, if we know,
Yep.
we can make some effort to let people know.
Okay. I will ask about that.
Good, thank you. 137 Torringford, same thing?
Yeah, no real report. I can say that, I believe I've mentioned to you guys in the past that the new owner of the property has been interested in having the Greenway extension go through the property.
That'd be nice.
And we're at the point where the ad hoc Greenway Committee has invited Mr. Bothright, the owner of Yield Industries, to a meeting to actually discuss it, one-on-one with him. And so that's progressing nicely. That'll cover most of this next stretch and provide the availability to be completely out of the wetland, which is nice for multiple reasons, not least of which is minimizing impact with the Army
Off
Corps.
our agenda.
Yeah.
All right, good. And no comments from the selectman liaison? And we talked about the possibility of when applications are approved, that we put some kind of a permit notice on the person's property. We getting anywhere with that?
Not really. If it, go ahead.
Why can't we just do it?
I suppose you could make it a condition of approval that it be posted in a visible spot, that kind of thing.
Doesn't
Yeah,
say that
it's-
right on the
I-
permit?
Pole or something?
Well, so that's the thing. You got to think a little bit about how that works, right? I mean, it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Where do you post it? Do you post it in the window of the house? But then are you encouraging trespassers to walk up to view this thing in the window? So it's just, I think we need to think about how that works a little bit. I mean, if you say put it on a pole down at the end of the street, that's fine, but you're still dealing with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. It's not like a public notice sign that's 36 inches and 2-inch black letters and all that kind of stuff. Whereas,
What about if
if you got a big sign,
these signs made up?
You could, but-
Require them to stick it in the yard and then return it when the project's done.
In Nassau County, what we do here would be, let's say, a red one for the wetlands, and then when it goes to zoning, it's blue. But it's only a 5x5 card that they put in the front window. So it's always in the front window, so this way, when somebody's doing something, you know if they got a permit.
Some of these projects don't have windows.
yeah, right.
good point.
And so there's that, and we also have everything online. If anybody's interested in whether there's a permit on the property, you go online and look it up. I mean, you go into OpenGov, punch in the address, and it's gonna tell you whether there's a permit or
The
not.
average person driving by and seeing a backhoe doing something is not going online, they're gonna call. That's the reality we live in, I
But-
wouldn't go online.
But are they gonna be looking for a little a thing in the window either?
Maybe.
And I'm just trying to have the
playing devil's
conversation.
advocate, I'm saying there's
Yeah.
both sides of that coin. You know, there was instances where we post a permit, and I think we should post permits. That's, you know, for consideration, you know.
Do you get any calls in your office, Jeff, from people asking if they're?
Occasionally,
They're doing this
they
work as
seem
a
to
permit?
filter through the commissioners rather than the.
There are times where I'll call
Public at
Jeff
large.
twice a month on a couple of things that people bring to my attention. You know,
My thought is you have one of the, they come in different sizes, but they're basically just a folding little, you see them on the side of the road, people put where drive slow for the kids,
Yeah,
right? But it could be a
Linkage-
heavy plastic.
Linkage slow, yeah.
Take those kind of things, and that would be something you could post your permit on, and either either we give them a laminated permit or something, and give them one of these things they have to bring back, or give them a spec, how to post this. Cause it's hard, I mean, what do people know to post it? You're gonna put it, like you said, you're gonna put it in your window, you're gonna staple it to a telephone pole. If you have something standardized, and maybe they're colored, and that they come and pick them up, I mean, not that I wanna create more, things to manage, but if you're gonna do it, I feel like you have to have something that everybody maybe uses the same thing. And you always see, oh, well, it's this blue little, folding plastic thing that has, the permit in it, and
What
something along those lines to
what
me,
com- what-
something standardized that, anytime you use this, you go pick it up and you put it there or something, or at
And, you
least
know,
have a
the
spec
other,
for
the
it.
other thing is, like this gentleman here before us tonight, you know, he's gonna probably get approval hypothetically next month, but he may not do it until next winter.
Right.
You know, so somebody's gonna drive by and say, this guy's got a jackhammer out on the lake, and, you know,
I'll
Real-
look at something that I'm thinking of and maybe
Yeah.
propose it for the next meeting.
is there
Say,
any
hey,
commission now that requires permits be posted?
Well, building permits are required to be posted, but again, it's in the window now, typically it's a building related issue with the house, so you're already looking at the house and it's right there.
By
So it's a
example,
little-
the house on Shore Drive, 150 Shore Drive, is there a permit out there?
No,
No, probably not.
no, after today, no.
I mean, they put up a whole house.
Yeah,
I don't think the code requires it anymore.
Oh, does it not?
I do not believe so.
Okay, I could be.
Some towns still do, but I don't
Yeah.
think the code itself requires it to be posted.
Okay.
You know what, let's continue to talk about it, let's see if we can.
Yeah, I'll
come up with
propose something. I have an idea what I'm looking at.
Good. All right, any other business, anything coming up?
I'd just like to bring something up, kind of backtrack a little bit. On that 150 Shore Drive, to bring this up again, there was a complaint from a neighbor?
Yep, and that's been relayed, you should have gotten.
You got something.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the neighbor came in, to ask/complain about the
Oh, they came
water flow. They did, yeah.
Okay.
Brought that to the engineer's attention, and,
You did.
again, he's having trouble with the surveyor on this project, getting the topo, added so he could properly do what he needs to
So
do.
we'll deal with that. We'll
Yeah,
deal
so
with that next week.
he's aware of it, and he knows that it
And
needs
the
to be
homeowner
addressed.
next door is aware that we're dealing, you're on top of it.
Yeah, they are aware, yeah. And they've been before us
All right, good.
before, so they kind of know the drill.
I had a question, what's going on over at Union Pin, or I call the old Union Pin, across there excavating,
I think the.
just doing tree removal there?
I think he bought the property. I think
Yeah,
that-
so the marina did buy the property. Jeremy and I met Eric out there last week, it must have been.
Right.
Because we just wanted to make sure he wasn't gonna overdo it with
Yeah,
taking
no,
trees
I
down, and, so we sort of walked through the process. He's, like a madman right now with the season about to start, so he's very busy. He's not exactly sure what the end plan will be, but for the short term, at least, he's gonna get these trees out of there, he's gonna use it for, boat storage and parking and overflow and that kind of stuff. When he gets a more formulated plan, we'll review with him and go from there.
Why would it
But-
come before us?
Why would it come before us?
It's right on the water course, yeah.
Well,
What if it's
I meant the planning office.
Oh,
Yeah.
But it's likely that it would have to come before you, just because it's in the review area.
okay, upland review area.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anything else? Anybody? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Jamie, all those in favor? Frank? It's unanimous? Okay, so we'll be here next month on April 16th, which is a Wednesday.
Yes, no change to the April due to the holidays.
zoning violation a year
Kim,
ago.
are you on HLWA?
Nope.
Okay, everybody. 8:04.
Yes. I figured it was gonna be early.
Yeah, I thought so too. You know what, we should take advantage of it when it's maybe not pushing things aside.
We're not gonna sit here